Okay, a little more to the left there. That's good. Now.
Hello, I'm Alex. Have a nice day. There are things I've never told anyone except my mother and Adam. And today, I'm going to tell the truth. For a long time, I've been secretly preparing a plan not for myself, but for Tuna and Henry. No one knows. No one knows. Everything happened in silence. Just waiting for this moment. Every single detail I kept secret, because I wanted when the door opened, they would be stunned. And you wouldn't believe what you were about to see. Why did I have to do that? And the surprise I prepared. Is it enough to touch Tuna and Henry's hearts? Stay tuned until the end to know the whole story No one expected. Alex secretly prepares a new home for Tuna and Henry. And if you like it, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next episodes. This morning, when I opened my eyes, there was still a thin layer of fog outside. The room was so quiet that I could clearly hear the birds chirping outside, the wind blowing gently through the window. A new day had begun, but in my mind, as always, the first thought was not about myself. It was about two familiar names, Tuna and Henry. We didn't live in the same house, but every morning I could clearly imagine life there. Just by closing my eyes, I saw Tuna in the small kitchen, the sound of rice rustling in the pot, the sound of boiling water, the smell of hot rice spreading throughout the kitchen. Everything seemed to appear before my eyes, so familiar and close that it made my heart feel calm and strangely warm. Then I thought of Henry. I laughed to myself as I imagined that boy probably still buried in the blanket, his hair messy, not wanting to leave his sleep. In a moment, the smell of fresh rice and Tuna's gentle call would wake him up, just like any other peaceful morning. I took a deep breath. Despite the distance separating the two houses, in my mind, the image of Tuna by the kitchen and Henry on the bed seemed to appear right before my eyes. And that simple moment became the greatest motivation in me, the motivation to nurture a secret that I had cherished for a long time. I didn't want to stop at imagination. I wanted to do more. I wanted to give them a real surprise, a new home, where Tuna could peacefully prepare breakfast, where Henry could run around freely, and where I could see with my own eyes the happy smiles of both of them. Every morning, that desire arose more strongly, and this morning, it seemed to urge me clearly, it's time. I can't keep this secret any longer. But then I wonder, when that day comes, when Tuna and Henry find out everything, what will happen to them? And overwhelming happiness, or an unbelievable shock. I was on the computer desk. In front of me was a stack of yellowed drawings in the corner of the paper. How many times had I opened them, then put them away, just because I didn't have the courage to turn them into reality. Those scribbles, which seemed like sketches, but to me, they were a dream. I reached out and lightly touched the drawing of Henry's small room. In my imagination, I saw him running around, laughing loudly. I turned to another page, where I had drawn a spacious, bright kitchen, where Tuna could comfortably prepare breakfast without being confined in the small kitchen like now. And then, I stopped at the corner of the living room. I had drawn a large window, so that the morning sunlight could flood in, illuminating every happy moment. I sighed. For weeks, I had kept these designs a secret. But this morning, when the early morning light still covered the window frame, I knew it was time. I picked up the phone, hesitated for a few seconds, then dialed the architect, the only person I believed could help me make this dream come true. The phone rang. A familiar voice said, "Hello, Alex. It's been a long time. Have you decided yet?" I swallowed, then answered briefly, "Yes. I want to meet in person, on the land I mentioned, where I plan to build that house." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Then, a firm answer, "Okay, I'll come." I put the phone down, feeling my heart beat faster. Before my eyes, the drawing suddenly came to life, as if waiting to be built into brick walls and tiled roofs. I held the drawing bag in my hand and walked down to the kitchen. Mom was preparing breakfast and asked me, "Where are you going so early?" I paused for a moment, then decided to tell the truth. "Mom, I'm not going to work today. I'm going to see the land, where I plan to build a new house for Tuna and Henry." Mom was surprised. Her chopsticks stopped in midair. A moment later, she just smiled, her eyes filled with kindness. "If that's what you really want, then I believe you." Hearing that, my heart felt lighter. I squeezed Mom's hand and said softly, "When the house is finished, I want you to be the first person to enter with me." Then, I picked up my bag and walked out the door. The morning dew was fresh, and in my heart a strong belief arose. Today would be the beginning of a new journey. I arrived at the meeting point, where the land spread out before my eyes, like a blank canvas waiting for someone to paint a picture of the future. A moment later, Mr. Hung, the architect I had been secretly collaborating with for a long time, appeared. He carried a thick file, walked firmly, but his eyes were gentle. We shook hands, and then he smiled slightly, glancing at the surrounding scenery. "This is where you plan to build a house for?" I nodded. The words paused for a moment. Then, as if urged, I frankly replied, "For Tuna and Henry. I want a real home, not just walls." Mr. Hung did not say anything more, just quietly opened the drawing, spread it right on the car hood. The sketched lines appeared, bright patches, empty spaces, overlapping blocks of space, like a dream that had just been revealed. Looking at the drawing, I suddenly saw a whole future gradually taking shape. He raised his head and asked me in a calm voice, "Do you have any specific wishes?" I took a deep breath and spoke slowly. "I want a large kitchen, because I know Tuna likes to cook. There must be a large window, so that the morning sunlight can come in. And in the evening, she can watch Henry playing in the yard." My finger gently touched a corner of the drawing. "Henry's room needs a lot of light and a place for him to display his toys. I want that place to become a whole childhood world for him, a place that he will still remember with a smile when he grows up." Hung nodded, his eyes shining with sympathy. Then he suddenly asked, "What about you? Do you want your own space?" I smiled softly and shook my head. Suddenly, Tuna and her mother appeared. The moment Tuna stood in front of the land, I clearly felt a heavy silence. Tuna looked around, her eyes hesitant. She said nothing, just hugged her child tightly, as if she was afraid of losing her only place to rely on. When she saw the drawing spread out on the car hood, her eyes trembled slightly. This house could be the first place Henry called home. I moved closer, softly said, "I want this place to not only have brick walls, but also have the laughter of you and Henry." Tuna looked down at her child, tears glistening down her cheeks. In that moment, I understood that what she feared most was not the house collapsing, but the hope left unfinished. Henry moved slightly, opened his eyes, and grabbed my finger. Small, weak, but that squeeze was enough for me to believe. This is the family that I must keep for the rest of my life. But is that young faith enough for Tuna to dare to embark on the journey with me again? Let's watch the next episodes together.